don't think I've met a man. Je suis Helen Keller. Lucius Malfoy. But I kind of just wanted it to be over. Hi, my name is Sash, and this is Shelved by Sash. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 35 books I read in 2025. I don't want to give any spoilers because then this video will be very long. I already anticipate it being long because I love to yap. And I would say the theme for this year is a sine curve. We start out very low, we go high, we go low again, and then we go back up to high. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book I read in 2025, or first book I finished, was Assistant to the Villain. And this book, no bueno. I did not like it at all. The premise is this woman is really destitute. She needs to feed her family. And she stumbles across this gorgeous creature monster in the woods, and it turns out that he's more than he seems. And oh no, is he the villain in the title? Maybe. And do they fall in love? Maybe. You'll have to read to find out. I definitely wouldn't recommend you read this. I could see what was being put down here. I don't think I picked it up. I picked it up. I just didn't like what I saw when I picked it up. It's very much a grumpy sunshine, but it felt more like adult man and 3-year-old girl. She is very infantilized in this book, and that's her thing. If you like being babied, maybe you'd like this. The second book I read in 2025 is Ace of Spades. It follows two black kids as they attend a predominantly white private school. They're on different sides of the social strata. So Chiamaka's the popular girl, and Devin is kind of he's a loser. And as two of the only, I think they're the only black kids in the whole school, if I remember correctly, they uncover something a bit sinister going on. And I would say go into this knowing as little as possible. So this book is actually a debut YA novel. And for being a debut, I could tell it was a debut, but I feel like you forgive it when you're reading it because you're just so immersed in the world. And as a black person who went to a predominantly white private school, I was like, whoa, I'm in this book. So, trigger warning, if you were a person of color who went to a white private school, you may see yourself a lot in this book. Third book I read in 2025 is Fourth Wing. I wanted to see what all the hype was about, and I will say of all the romantasy books I've read, this one is definitely the most fun. Not good, mind you, but definitely very fun. It follows a girl named Violet, and she goes to soldier school, and she bonds with a dragon, and there's an evil guy, enemies to lovers. It's a fun time. If you're looking for in-depth political machinations, maybe skip this one. But if you're looking for a fun time with fun fight scenes and maybe one redeemable character, maybe pick this up. Not for me. Definitely not for me. But I am a dragon lover. And the last book I finished in January of 2025 is Brokeback Mountain. It is a short story that inspired the viral and very, very famous movie of the same name. And it follows two cowboys, Ennis and Jack, as they fall in love when they go up to the mountain together as sheep herders. I really love this book. I think it is such a treat in such a short amount of time, and it's only 30 or 40 pages, so I would definitely recommend if you've never read the original material. And if you've watched the movie, there are some visceral scenes that they ripped straight from the pages, and I felt like I was in the theater again. But yeah, that's Brokeback Mountain. In February, I finished 3 books, and the first that I read was Big Little Lies. So I actually have this, it's really cute. I have this notes app from when I was, I think I was 10 to 15, and I wrote down every book I ever heard someone say anything good about, and this year I decided to work my way through that, and Big Little Lies was on that list, and so was Brokeback Mountain. But Big Little Lies follows 4 mothers, and they're similar age children who go to the same preschool. And when I tell you, every part of me that loves to know everybody else's tea was absolutely in love with this book. I really liked it. There are a couple iffy moments in terms of the characterization of characters off screen. I was like, oh, did that need to be in there? Like, we know some of these women aren't great people. Do they need to be racist? The next book I read, if you take one thing away from this video, do not read The Winner by Teddy Wayne. This book, I took psychic damage upon finishing this book. It is so bad. A thriller involving a tennis coach in a wealthy, enclosed neighborhood during COVID where no one can go in or out. I was like, sign me the hell up for that. What I got instead was, I'm not even going to tell you the plot twist, but let me just tell you, I was absolutely appalled. And the group chat was hearing long, lengthy voice notes about everything I found wrong with this book, which there were many. I personally think we should ban men from writing thrillers altogether, specifically because of this book. The next book I read in February was Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This book, I listened to it as an audiobook. And let me tell you, I feel bad for the people in the grocery stores near me because the faces I was making during this book, oh my God. In this book, a woman named Naomi is sent a letter by her cousin who has recently married a white British man, and they've moved to the mountains of Mexico and in the Mexican countryside. And the letter her cousin writes her is very concerning. So Naomi's father sends her to go check in on the newlywed couple. And what she uncovers, honestly, this book is like Mexican Get Out. Feeling that you're like, oh, I'm trapped in this house. And in Mexican Gothic, you're trapped in that house. I love this book. I had a great time. And I only finished one book in March, and that book was Foundation. And the reason I wanted to read Foundation is, number one, the TV show stars Lee Pace. Fine shit, Lee Pace. That should be enough of a reason. And the second reason is that I know foundation is, the foundational text for a lot of modern sci-fi TV shows, movies, and books. And I wanted to read the OG text. I had a really good time with this book. I thought it was funny. I actually laughed out loud at some parts, which is like, what? For being a sci-fi book that is really imaginative with time and is really quite intelligent, I feel, about the role of empire and what a failing empire will do to protect itself and how to escape that and how to escape human greed. It isn't really creative when it comes to its characters. It's like basically the same white man is pithy and he solves the problem in a plot twisty kind of way, and then the book jumps forward 500 years and you're like, okay, where's the next pithy white man? But I really enjoyed this book. So if you like sci-fi, I definitely recommend Foundation if you haven't read it. I finished 3 books in the month of April, the first being Bel Canto. This is another one of those books that I had on my 10-year-old TBR. Bel Canto follows a group of very wealthy people, politicians, kind of movie stars, when a group of soldiers breaks into their dinner party and holds them hostage. And I thought that this book was good, like, for 30%. And then it lost me. I feel like it's one of those books again that, like, Anne Patchett's writing style specifically to me is not in my taste. It may be to you if you like lit fic. If you're a more character focused reader, I'm definitely a plot focused girly. So this is a little bit rough, especially in the middle and the end. It kind of dragged for me. I could see how someone could love it. I just felt like I was like, oh my God, I honestly can't even remember anything specific from this book at this point. The next book I finished is The Vegetarian. The Vegetarian is about a woman who spontaneously decides to stop eating meat. And I won't tell you why she does that. But the book follows her story not from her perspective, but from 3 people in her life: her husband, her sister, her brother-in-law, and her sister. I could tell there were things going over my head, but I was just like, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing through because no matter how many times I read this, I'm not going to get it. And maybe a bit of the disconnect I'm feeling is more of a cultural disconnect. I really liked it. I had a good time. I could tell like what the overarching themes were. And it got kind of like amorphous there then, but I was like, okay, pretty good read. And then the last book I read in April was Allow Me to Introduce Myself. This book, this book, I feel like is so current right now. It's about a girl who, when she was young, an infant, until she was a teenager, she was her parents kind of essentially pimped her out as an influencer. She was a baby influencer. And it's about how she is trying to, how she as an adult now is trying to take back her power as an individual, and how she has to deal with the kind of fracturing of trust of her father and her stepmother, who definitely forced this onto her. And I thought it was very, very lyrical. And I think there are a lot of good moments in this book. It's actually the book that I like have the most quotes from, and that's only because every single line is hitting you over the head with like so much flavor of prose. But I was finding it very, very difficult to really connect because of that. It's kind of like a barrier between you and the characters. It's just so rich, and you're like, okay, like, can I get one sentence that's just like, and then she went to the mall. But I liked it. Allow me to introduce myself. I finished 3 books in May. The first being The Three Body Problem. I'm reading the trilogy for my book club, my sci-fi book club, and I will say, if I wasn't in a book club, I would not have picked up the second or third book. This book is very confusing, I will say that. It is, I think the problem with the three body problem is that for me, like explaining the three body problem or summarizing it is on the back of the book, there's like a major spoiler, which I didn't really like. I had no idea what the three body problem was about. I only knew that there was an adapted TV show on Netflix. And so when I read the back of the book and it kind of gave away the whole surprise, I was really annoyed where after reading like 80% of the book and that thing doesn't show up, and then you're like, wait, why is this book saying it's about this one thing, but it's actually not until the very end. So I will just say some mysterious things start happening to scientists around the world, and it could mean the end of the world. When I explain this book to my friends and family, everyone gets that glazed look across their eyes where I've completely lost them, and that is exactly how I felt when I was reading this book. When I read this series, in fact, I have to immersive read, so that means I have to read it and listen to it at the same time to get all of the information that's being put down, because it almost feels like every single thing matters, which of course in a book everything should matter, but like truly you're introduced to like 30 characters in each book, and they're not the same characters from every book, and but sometimes they are, and every character matters, and everything that every character does matters, and every time a character mentions their destitute father, it matters because the father might be in the second book. I don't know, I feel like you have to be a very specific type of reader for this book, and it's not me, but I'm reading it for the lovely ladies in my book club. The next book I read in May was Six Crimson Cranes. This was another one on my 10-year TBR, and essentially the Six Crimson Cranes is about a princess who runs away on her wedding day, and her evil stepmother turns her brothers into cranes and makes her mute. And the evil stepmother, she banishes the siblings across the country. And I feel like I have a low-key unpopular opinion about this book. I didn't really love it. It's another YA fantasy, and I thought that the world was really unique. But I kind of just wanted it to be over. It was kind of one of those books where I was like, oh, okay. Like, our main character is going through a lot of character growth. But I was just, like, pretty bored by it, honestly. And the last book that I read in May was Boat Baby, a memoir. I read this book after going to a talk by the author, and I feel like if you don't know a lot of the background information about this book or the heart in which the author put into it, it kind of falls flat a little bit. This book very much reads like a fact by fact history book of what happened in the author's life, and there was some really good moments specifically about what it's like to be the first generation American child of immigrant parents, when they don't understand the culture, when they don't understand the nuances of language, they don't understand why you are acting like an American teenager when they themselves were not American teenagers. I really related to that as a child of immigrants. And I don't know. I felt kind of bad because I really enjoyed the talk with the author, but I didn't really love the book. I thought it had good bones. I just didn't think it was the flesh was good, if that makes sense, if that's not gross. I read 3 books in June. The first was the first prequel of the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the first prequel to the Hunger Games trilogy, and it follows Snow's descent into madness. Valid crash out. This book is definitely my least favorite Hunger Games entry. Maybe I'm not as much of a Hunger Games fan as I thought, but there was a lot going on where I was like, wait, is that a character that I know? What does that mean? Who is that? I don't know. I didn't really connect with this book, and I am so embarrassed because I thought that snow lands on top was like a pithy statement about like the family always is the top, not like actual snow landing on top of things. And I felt so stupid when I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, like snow when it falls, it like lands on top. Like, you get it? The next book I read in June was Aristotle and Dante Uncover the Secrets of the Universe. Follows 2 young boys as they slowly foster a it's such an adorable little friendship, and then it maybe becomes more. And they have the cutest pair of parents. I think their parents were my favorite characters. Like, not even the main characters. I love the parents. Let me just say, this book would have broken me if I read it when I was 13 or 14, as is the accurate demographic. I just thought it was so beautiful. It kind of has that like flavor of like picking it up in the library when you're 13 and curling up on the beanbag and reading it all in one sitting. The last book I read in June was We Were Liars. All I will say is this book is famous for having the worst plot twist of all time for a reason. Ass. I'm not even talking about it anymore. I hated this book. So I actually didn't finish any books in July, but I finished 5 books in August. The first being The Secret History. But The Secret History, if you don't know, it follows a couple of pretentious college students in a small liberal arts college, and one man who is an outsider to their little group, and chaos ensues when he tries to enmesh himself in this group. And I felt the tension built really well. I thought that Dante was a master of prose. It's a beautiful book, but it's really long. I will say, again, I could tell that this was a really good book. Not for me. But I had a phenomenal time listening to the Spotify audiobook where Dante herself narrates it. And I will tell you, you haven't felt real joy until you hear a Southern woman say, Je suis Helen Keller. And if you don't speak French, that means I am Helen Keller. It makes sense in the context of the book, and Loki isn't that funny in context. It's just the French being read in a Southern accent was honestly probably the best part of this book for me. Yeah, if you haven't read The Secret History, I definitely recommend it, especially if you love character studies and you love reading about awful protagonists. Like, it was so fun to hate everybody, and the one character who I really liked turned out to be awful at the end, which was not fun, and I redacted a star for that. Yes, I did, Miss Donatart. The third book I finished in August was, I'll just say, 3rd, 4th, and 5th books. I read the entire Hunger Games trilogy back to back. I will not recommend reading each of these books in one day, because you will break. Your soul will break. Your brain will break. Your eyes will break. Your tear ducts will break. I just felt so bad for every single one of the characters in this book, and I think that Suzanne Collins, I do not want to be in her mind. I think now that I'm more of an adult, it's not as politically savvy as I once thought it was. I think it's brilliant, don't get me wrong. I will say, controversial opinion, Gale isn't as bad as people say. I kind of understand where he's coming from. No, I'm still a PETA girl. Josh Hutcherson, hello. You should reread the books. If you disagree with me, reread the books. I read 3 books in the month of September. The first is the second book in the 3-Body Problem. And I will say, I liked it less than the first one, but that is because of the translation. It's actually a different translator than the first book, and I think that translator did not do as well of a job conveying what was going on. Like, I felt like I was lost in the sauce a lot of the times in this book. I was like, where are we? Who are we talking to? And that may just be how the book is written, but it also just may be the fault of the translator. I will say that I'm reading the 3rd book right now, and it is by the translator of the first book, and it is this book, I think the third book will be my favorite in the series so far. I'm only like 10% in, but I'm loving it way more. Probably because I've been in this confusing world for 2 books already. The last book I read in September is the newest installment in the Hunger Games. That is Sunrise on the Reaping. And I will say, this book low-key disappointed me, but that is because I was really fresh in my rereading of the Hunger Games trilogy. And that trilogy, I feel like, is the strongest, specifically the first book. I think the first book is the best book, and I don't think that Suzanne will really recapture the magic that she put in that first book, specifically because it was new to all of us, and I think she does such a good job of laying the foundation, and Sunrise and the Reaping just kind of felt like rewarming of the same old characters, just like, surprise, Haymitch knew them all along. Yeah, so if you don't know, Sunrise on the Reaping follows Haymitch, who is the mentor for Peeta and Katniss in the first book. When he is in the Hunger Games, it follows his Hunger Games. And I liked it better than Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, but I definitely loved the Hunger Games trilogy a lot more. And then the last book I read in September, once again, a book I will not recommend to you that you pick up. The Midnight Library follows the story of a woman who takes her own life, and she is sent to kind of like an in-between place called the Midnight Library. Could you have guessed? And in the Midnight Library, you can pick any book on the shelf, and in that book, it contains the story of your life. If you had made any kind of choice in your life a little bit differently. This book is a very shallow exploration of suicide and suicidality. I honestly, as someone who does not experience suicidal ideation, I felt offended. I was like, whoa, this is not how any of that works. I think it's only popular because it was written during the pandemic and everyone was stuck inside and like, whoa, like life means something. Like that was all the rage in 2020, I think. I read one book in October, and this book I also listened to as an audiobook, and I will say the audiobook experience, phenomenal. I love this book. I read The God of the Woods, and this book follows a young girl who goes missing in the same forest that her brother went missing, I think 15 years previously. I liked 3/4 of this book. I did not like the ending, because it gives you a lot of like fake outs of the twists, and I feel like the fake outs are almost more shocking than the ending, so it kind of just feels like, oh, like, okay, I guess we're gonna do that now. So yeah, I liked it. Like, I would recommend it, but I'm not like burning with love for this book. Definitely not the best thriller I've read. In November, I read 7 books because I began to panic that I was not hitting my goal of 40 books read in 2025. And the first book I read was I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. So I Have No Mouth and Must Scream is a short story about an AI that takes over, and it has trapped 4 people, I think, inside its mainframe. But again, this is not clear. A lot of it is like wishy-washy. Yeah, it follows these 4 people as they're kind of like endlessly tortured by the AI simply because it can. And I think that's kind of pretty boring in terms of like AI takes over stories. I think it can and has been done way better. This book, I only read it because one of my favorite YouTubers recommended it offhandedly in one line of his YouTube video. It was not as gruesome or crazy or shocking as I thought it would be. I feel like it is very vivid in its language, but it's very like, it's kind of like bad. I really don't like the way sci-fi books, specifically books about body horror and being stuck in apocalypse, treat women. I feel like if you're going to treat a woman badly, it should be for a reason. You should be saying something about whatever kind of society or world that you're living in. But this one was just like mean to be mean. It was like really gross, and it had a lot of graphic content specifically about the woman and the character in which you follow. He just hates her, and it's like really rough to read that as a woman. The next book I read in November is Normal People. It follows 2 kind of star-crossed lovers as they leave high school and go to college, and then post-college ish, not really post-college. So if you're interested in this book, definitely know that they're in school the whole time. But yeah, I don't really know if I really vibed with the main male character. He was super, super, super annoying. And female main character, I liked her a lot better, but we're not in her head nearly as much as I'd like to be. We're in Mr. Connell's head the entire time, and I did not enjoy that very much. I liked the beginning of this when the main two characters were in high school, but I didn't really like the end of it. Yeah, I can't really say anything. I kind of feel like meh about this book. It's kind of like, I feel like Sally Rooney wasn't really in prime power yet. She was still leveling up when she wrote this book, and it feels very obvious to me. A lot of things are kind of haphazardly thrown in and around this book. Some themes are brought up and then not explored at all. And I think something that Normal People does really well is it presents an opinion and then kind of gives you every side of that opinion without obviously taking a stance. But then some things it very clearly takes a stance on, and you're like, oh, where did that come from? So I didn't really like that. I then read Every Last Secret, and this book kind of like a very traditional thriller in the sense of it's two housewives pitted against each other. And I found that while it was fun, it wasn't very good, and I don't really like gender essentialism in my books, and I found that this was really bothering me with the traditional values, and I don't know. I kind of just felt bad for one of the women's husbands, and then couldn't care less for anybody else. Severe overreaction, and I actually wrote in my review, Regina George levels of housewife shenanigans. So if that interests you, and if you want a quick, easy read, definitely check this out. Not good, but definitely a good time. So then, because of my panic about the impending end of year and my goal not having been reached yet, I started a short story sci-fi collection called the Forward Collection, and this is a collection of 6 sci-fi novels written by different authors. So I started with the first book of the collection called Arc, and Arc is written by Veronica Roth, who wrote the Divergent series. And I feel like Veronica got a list of the other authors that would be included in this collection and then got self-conscious and then tried to overwrite it a little bit. It's definitely not as fun as the other books. Arc follows a group of scientists who are the last on Earth, or who are cataloging plants, because Earth will be destroyed in a matter of days by an asteroid. And it's kind of just an exploration of like the grief of losing your home. And I don't know, it was kind of good, kind of boring. It was meh to me. The second book in the collection is called Summer Frost, and that's by Blake Crouch. The setup for this book is incredible, and I was reading it in public, and I had to contain myself because I was like genuinely going, oh. Essentially this is another AI takes over kind of premise, and that's like basically that's all you need to know. The AI takes over, and the programmer who makes the AI, Loki, is in love with the AI. But it was super fun. A very classic sci-fi story about human hubris, betrayal, and what it means to be human. The next book I read, which is the third in the collection and will probably be my favorite, I haven't read the last 2 yet, but it's called Emergency Skin by N.K. Jemisin. And that woman, she's magical. Like, honestly, I was like, oh my god, this is the funniest thing I've ever read. It's descendant of a colony of humans that was sent out into space after Earth was destroyed, and he comes back to get HeLa cells, like the Henrietta Lacks cells, which, by the way, hilarious, that people are still looking for HeLa cells in whatever 2500. And when he gets back to Earth, he finds out that, oh, maybe it wasn't destroyed. You follow the voice of this explorer's AI, and the AI is programmed with the biases of the culture that this explorer comes from, and it is incredibly funny. I think Jemisin is really talented at highlighting how funny prejudice and ignorance and bigotry can be. She touches on points that like are still prevalent in our society: fatphobia, racism, homophobia, xenophobia, and she makes them funny. And I was reading it or listening to it, and it is actually hilarious. It is voiced by the incredible Jason Isaacs, and oh my god, he fucking killed this book. and actually the whole collection is read by actors, and I'm having a phenomenal time trying to be like, oh, where do I know this voice from? But Lucius Malfoy reads Emergency Skin, and it is hysterical. It is so good. It is the only book I've given 5 stars to this year, if that tells you anything. It's a short story. It took me maybe like 45 minutes to read. It is incredible. I think that you would be better off having read this book. Definitely. There's something for everybody in this book. I had a fabulous time. And that brings us finally to December. So far in December, I've read 3 books. The first, which is the 4th book in the Ford collection, is called You Have Arrived at Your Destination. It is about a couple undergoing genetic modification of their child. And in this world, you can kind of not just choose like the gender and look of your child, you can choose their outcome through something called genetic nudging. Oh, interesting. Okay, sure. Why not? Sure. Yeah, this book, definitely not the strongest in the collection. And after reading Emergency Skin and seeing just what brilliance can come from a sci-fi short story, this book didn't really impress me. It had me in the first 2/3, and if you know, you know, it lost me in the last act. I don't really love man-focused books, specifically when the female characters aren't even on screen. Like, what are we doing here? It's a fertility story. It's a story about a couple about to have their first kid, and the wife isn't even there. Like, oh, okay. So yeah, that's You Have Arrived at Your Destination. So now I have 2 more books left in the Forward collection, which I will hopefully get to soon. And these next 2 books, listen. I am not immune to the hype train. So I hopped right on and joined Rachel Reed and millions of readers as we embarked on the journey of gay hockey romance. And I will say this, as a veteran of Wattpad and AO3, it is not the best story. It is not the best written books. It's not the best written spicy time. Smut scenes are not that good. But damn, if those boys on the TV screen do not strike something within me. The first book in this series, Game Changers, is not that good. I am not a lover of insta love stories. I don't know. I feel like insta love gives me the ick. It's like, why is he love bombing you? It was a hockey player, Scott, and he falls in love with his smoothie barista. Well, the smoothie barista is essentially trapped in his apartment, and I am being flippant here, but the entire story essentially happens in Scott's apartment, and I was like, oh my god. Can you guys not walk in the park? Like, you live in New York. Like, men walk together in Central Park all the time. Like, why are you acting like guys can't be friends? This is like the 2010s. Men can't be friends? Were men only friends in 2020? Did I not get the memo? Like, I don't understand. I thought this book was not that good. And then the second book in the series is called Heated Rivalry, what the viral TV show is based off of. And it follows 2 hockey players this time, Shane and Ilya. And they are the captains of rival hockey teams. And that to me is way more interesting than falling in love with your smoothie barista. I loved reading about and from the perspective of Ilya. Like, Ilya, I love a Russian bisexual. Having Connor Story in my head. Connor Story is the actor that plays Ilya in the TV show. I was just like, this is like, I love this. And I cannot wait for the cabin scene. I need it now. I need HBO to send it to me right now. Like, specifically me. I promise I won't share it to anybody. Like, please. I need it. Like, now? Actually, do you want me to put my email in the description? Like, how does it need to happen? Because I need that. I need it. As books, not that great. And I feel like if you really want some good queer love stories, get them from queer authors. And I've read better fan fiction. I've read better like one-shots online on Tumblr than this. Like, better written. I like the story. I like the concept, but I don't think that the prose is very good. I don't think that the conversations felt realistic. I felt like we were reading about teenage boys. I was like, oh, are these guys seriously 27? Like, have you met a 27-year-old? They don't talk like this. Like, I don't think I've met a man who ever talks like this. And I know a couple of them. I've met them. I met a man. I don't think Rachel has. So that is the 35 books I read in 2025. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. How many books have you read in 2025? And how many did you plan to read? Did you hit your goal? Did you not? Please let me know in the comments below. This is the first video of my channel, and I'm so excited to take on this reading journey with all of you. If you liked the video, please do all the things. Can you hit the like button and subscribe for more content? Thank you so much for watching.